Hi, and welcome to my first book review podcast. This will be the first in a series of podcasts where I review the books I have read in the previous weeks or months. In this episode, I will be reviewing Police, Crime and 999, The True Story of a Frontline Officer by John Donoghue, Apartment 16 by Adam Nevill, Not Tonight, Josephine, A Road Trip Through Small Town America by George Mahood, and The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm going to start with Apartment 16 by Adam Nevill, which is available in both paperback and Kindle editions. I downloaded the Kindle edition as it was slightly cheaper than its paperback equivalent. The blurb states that in Barrington House, an upmarket block in London, there is an empty apartment. No one goes in, no one comes out. Some doors are better left closed. Unfortunately, some books are better left closed too. I was really looking forward to reading this book, as I do enjoy reading good old-fashioned ghost stories. And it did start quite well, to be honest, but it quickly became tepid and boring, and it's as if the writer took a short story and tried to pad it out into a novel. The plot is thin to say the least, which involves a haunted apartment that is inherited by an American woman and her mother. The frights are non-existent really, with the author trying to use very graphic descriptions of gore to scare the reader, and in my opinion this doesn't work, as suspense and horror needs to be making use of the reader's imagination rather than just trying to turn their stomach. The front cover carries a quote from the Guardian newspaper stating that Nevill is Britain's answer to Stephen King, which is grand praise indeed, but I don't see the similarity myself. Overall, I was bitterly disappointed with this book, and I only gave it 1 star out of 5. Next up is Not Tonight, Josephine, A Road Trip Through Small Town America by George Mahood. Again, this book is available in paperback and ebook formats, and I purchased the ebook version. I have read one of author George Mahood's previous books, Free Country, which details his and his friends' hilarious walk from Land's End to John O'Groats, starting in nothing but their underwear. So I was looking forward to this book, as I love to read travel writing, especially if it's based in the UK or USA. This book is a travel-log of his journey with a friend, and eventually his girlfriend, across America from east coast to west and all points in between. As the title says, they try to avoid the big cities and instead try to stick to the less travelled roads and visit the kind of small towns and attractions that often get overlooked by tourists. Although not as funny or engaging a read as Free Country, I thought this book was still a humorous look into the lives of 2 Brits on their own in the American backwaters. George Mahood is very good at writing about his experiences in a witty manner. His writing style is easy to follow, and the short chapters make this an ideal book to read on the go. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the book, although it wasn't as funny as Free Country, so I give it 4 stars out of 5. I'll stay with non-fiction for my next review, which is a book I've just finished reading called Police, Crime and 999, The True Story of a Frontline Officer by John Donoghue. This book came to my attention on my Twitter feed, and having looked it up on Amazon and noticing over 600 customer reviews, most of which were 4 or 5 stars, I decided to download the relatively inexpensive Kindle version. The book is apparently the first in a series of 3 written by serving police officer John Donoghue, and again this was a book that started out quite well, with some genuine laugh-out-loud moments. However, after I'd read about a quarter of the book, it soon became apparent that Constable Donoghue has more than the odd chip on his shoulder. The author's attitude towards those people in the community who he feels is beneath him is nothing short of disgraceful, and this is only just the beginning. His misogynistic attitude towards women borders on the distasteful, especially when he pokes fun at a woman who was raped whilst drunk. Other women also come in for jibes about their appearance, their weight, etc., and he also goes after people who have obvious mental health issues. No one escapes his vitriolic tongue, not even firefighters and paramedics. In short, PC Donoghue comes across as a rather unpleasant and condescending individual who doesn't cast a good light on the other hard-working men and women in the UK police force. I admit that some of the anecdotes are funny, when they're not poking fun at people, but the author does tend to go off on tangents quite often, and it seems as though he is trying to pad out his stories to stretch across 3 books when one would have been sufficient. One thing that annoyed me most about the writing style was the use of the phrase, "but I digress," after he finished going off on a tangent and is ready to resume the anecdote he started. This phrase appears at least 20 to 30 times in the book, and it quickly becomes very annoying. I found the editing to be sloppy, with many spelling mistakes, and the formatting also leaves a lot to be desired, with words not being separated by spaces cropping up far too often. Overall, this book does not compel me to buy the other 2 in the trilogy, which is a shame because this book had the potential to have been a really good read, if the author had come across with some kind of humility and humanity, but he doesn't. His juvenile sense of humour comes across as being on par with that of a teenage schoolboy. I gave this book 2 stars on Goodreads, although now I think about it, that may have been a bit generous, and 1.5 would have been more accurate. My final review is the classic Sherlock Holmes mystery, The Hound of the Baskervilles, by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Set largely on Dartmoor in Devon, in England's West Country, this book tells the story of an attempted murder inspired by the legend of a fearsome, diabolical hound of supernatural origin. Sherlock Holmes and his companion Dr. Watson investigate the case. This edition is a retro hardback copy that has silver gilding on the pages and comes with a cardboard sliding cover that depicts artwork of Holmes and his famous pipe standing outside the gates of the Baskerville estate. I picked this up in a discount bookshop, and it now has pride of place on my bookshelf. Even though it was written in 1902, this book is easy to read and is as fresh as any contemporary mystery crime thriller. There is a gothic feel to the story, and Conan Doyle's descriptions make you feel as if you are there with Holmes and Watson. I don't want to give anything away as regards to the plot, as this is a book best enjoyed without knowing too much about it, but there are many twists and turns, as well as the odd red herring before the mystery of the curse is finally revealed. Overall, this is a great book to read on a cold, rainy day by the fireside, with a mug of cocoa or a glass of brandy, with your feet up, and nothing but the howling wind and the patter of raindrops on the window for company. I'll give this book 4 stars, and you will find that 1 or 2 of the Kindle versions are free to download via Amazon. Well, that's it for this month. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and have found my reviews helpful. Join me again next time when I will be reviewing more fiction and non-fiction books, including The Turn of the Screw by Henry James and The Watchers by Neil Spring. You can find out more about me and the books I reviewed in this podcast by following me on Twitter, @PDrakeOfficial. Well, have a good day, and I look forward to your company on the next podcast.